coming. My name is Delia DeRiggi-Whitton. I'm the Nassau County Legislator for the 11th District. I know some of you have been here before because Crescent Beach has been closed since 2009. I served as a city councilwoman at that time, along with Councilman Tenke. And from that moment on, it was our main concern to try to find a way to reopen this beautiful beach. Glen Cove has 3 beaches, this being one. The residents rely on it, love it, and enjoy it, and that's basically a beautiful part of living in Glen Cove. From the time I was on the council, it was clear that the real problem with the beach wasn't so much the entire area, but just a stream that basically is right about west from us, about 200 yards from where we are right now. The stream at one point was 1,000 times higher than the permitted levels of bacteria. I believe the numbers are a little bit better now, but not much. They're still pretty much the same way. We were trying to figure out how to fix the bacteria level. We thought possibly it was from the many estates in this area that might have old septic systems. So I was able to obtain the money for a feasibility study to sewer this area. I also obtained $10 million to start the sewering of this area. Unfortunately, when we got the construction plans, it was clear that $10 million wasn't enough. It was going to have to cost at least $30 million. So I started to look into different ways that we could get the funding, and basically what we went back to B&B with, the engineers in this case, was, okay, I don't have the money for the whole area, but can you go back and focus on the stream? Because this is the area right near the stream. This is where the problem is. If we can fix the stream, we can probably open the beach. So if I can sewer those homes or whatever I have to do, let's do it. When D&B finished the report, I have a letter dated to Sheila Shaw on September 6, 2017. In mid-September, we were notified at a meeting that the report was done. I was not told of this report when it was first received from DPW. I then set up a meeting with DPW. We met at the end of September. And at that meeting, I was expecting to see the new construction design, and I didn't. Instead, I saw these various points in the stream. And the engineer there basically explained to me that they really went to the stream and looked at it and took samples all along the stream. There's really good news in this. The water level under this area is fine, no contamination. The lower part of the stream, fine. We're very happy. We're worried about a pumping station near Harwood Drive, fine. So it's really good news. So then she continued on that there were different peaks at different points in the stream. And what's interesting is they correlated to pipes. Now, these pipes are basically outflow pipes. I never knew about these pipes. I've had people walk up and down these streams that never found these pipes before. I know someone who's a pretty good engineer who never found the pipe. It just happened to be that these people, which I give them complete credit for, took the time to look under, and you'll see the pictures of them. They're not exactly easy to see, but they are there. There are 4 that were identified, and at each 4, the levels of bacteria are very high. So at this point in the meeting with DPW, Nassau County DPW, I asked if we should discuss this with the mayor of Glen Cove, and at that point I was told we already did. He's been given the report early in September. I believe they said September 8th, but I don't remember the exact date, but I know it was around the first week. I was also told that the proper way to go about this was to have the Board of Health take over. I said, okay. They were going to meet with the Board of Health. DPW was going to meet with the Board of Health, Nassau County Board of Health, October 2nd. So I wrote a letter to the Commissioner Einstein asking him to make sure the DEC was notified, as well as, do everything you have to do to make sure we can address this immediately. The meeting was held. I never got a response from my letter. I followed up with DPW a few times. I was supposed to be totally updated yesterday. It never happened. So right now, my main concern is that we do this in a transparent way. The homeowners have to be notified. We're going to have to make sure that the DEC and everyone else was notified. I have one other thing that Bruce and everyone else might mention, but this isn't the first time that the city was aware of pipes. Back in 2014, one of the pipes was addressed and supposedly closed or sealed. However, if you look at the documents, the pipe is still there. It doesn't appear to be sealed from the picture, and that is another place where the bacteria levels are high. The good news is These problems can be corrected for approximately, I was told by DPW, for approximately $20,000 each. You're talking $80,000 as opposed to $10 million that we're about to spend. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I want to see these taken care of immediately. If we can fix this problem and those levels can come down, this beach might be open for the summer, which has been one of my personal goals along with Councilman Tenke's. And I will be very happy if that happens. So it's my pleasure now to introduce Tim Tenke, and I want to tell you something. I know being out here, I want to have everything out in the open because I'm really serious. I feel a moral obligation with this. I feel that this is, as an elected official, this is public knowledge, and this is paid for by the taxpayer money, and I wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page and aware.
Thank you. I want to thank Delia for her unwavering dedication to finding the source of the contamination here at Crescent Beach. The contamination has caused this beach to be closed for nearly a decade, and that's unacceptable, especially when I'm told that the mayor knew about some of the contamination and points of contamination early on. That information was not passed on to the council, nor was it passed on to the public, which has a right to know what's going on down here. This is their beach. This needs to be open. There's the article back in 2014, which Delia had referenced, that there was no follow-up on. We have never been given any information whether or not the EPA was ever notified as required by our statutes here in Glen Cove. And this is a continued type of behavior where the public is not notified about what's going on in its own town. And I think this type of thing has to stop. And Delia has this report now that is out there that says this can be fixed relatively easy. So why would you sit on a report for a month and not give it to the public and say, hey, we have a solution and let's get this thing moving in the right direction? And he hasn't done that, and I think we have an obligation to our citizens and our residents here to do so. And I'm very happy that Delia has done this. She has brought this to my attention, and I think that we can work to push this forward. It's way too long. 10 years is a long time for the residents not to have their beach back. It's time to get it back, and hopefully next year we'll have it open. Thank you very much.
Bruce Kennedy's the former mayor of Seacliff and has been helping me from day one, and I asked him to come today.
Thank you, Delia. I had been working with Delia for nearly a decade on not only this body of water, but all the bodies of water that surround Hempstead Harbor and the Long Island Sound. What we're dealing with here today is not a Glen Cove issue, it's a regional issue. It's an issue that affects all of the stakeholders on Long Island Sound and Hempstead Harbor. Of particular concern over many years has been the coliform levels and the bacteria levels here at Crescent Beach, and I think it's always been obvious to everybody that there is some type of illicit discharge occurring. It was assumed that there was leaching from cesspools, that the water tables were high, and those are reasonable assumptions, but probably about 18 months ago, the initial portion of the D&B study, they didn't find the problems that they expected. And they dug deeper, and as their report states, they did reconnaissance. They actually walked along this creek that's right alongside here, and they found 4 pipes that are illicitly discharging raw sewage directly into our water body. As was stated earlier, it was acknowledged back in 2014 by the mayor of Glen Cove that one of these pipes were found and an assurance that it was closed. I don't know if there was any notification to the DEC, but all the communities surrounding Hempstead Harbor are members of the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee. And the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee wasn't notified. I know the village proper wasn't ever notified. And now we have this issue where, once again, the interested parties and the stakeholders have not been notified, which is disturbing. The good news is we've identified what appears to be the major significant source of the contamination here at Crescent Beach, and residents in the area are demanding that this be addressed immediately, that those caps be closed off, and a proper investigations be done as to how they came to be, where they're coming from, who knew it, and when. Delia, thank you for your ongoing hard work, and more to be revealed.
Just want to mention also that all along, we never had the proof that where the contamination was coming from. And because of the study that was just done, we now have photographs and pictures of the points of discharge along that creek that actually show where the pollution and the contamination is coming from. Now we can go in and have those places remediated as soon as possible so that this beach can be open next year. And I think that now that we have all the studies and it shows exactly where they are and what they're doing, we can get that fixed. So that's what we're going to do, and I think the Glen Cove residents deserve nothing less than that.
And Delia, just to be, if you could stand in front of the mic, just to be crystal clear, those pipes are coming from where?
Well, honestly, it's up to the city to determine and notify the homeowners.
But it's coming from homes.
It does appear that that's where they're coming from. I mean, if you look, it's not me, it's the report that's saying that we have identified not only the points of the stream that the bacteria level's high, but they also coincidentally happen to be right near these outflow pipes. So it doesn't take an engineer to say, okay, well then we'll go back to where this is coming from. And they have identified in the report the addresses of where they're coming from. So I don't know if these homeowners have been notified. We do know that the one home was notified back in 2014. They were aware of the problem. But again, the follow-up, I haven't heard of any follow-up. And that is another spot where the bacteria level is very high. So clearly the follow-up has not been up to standard.
Do you suspect that these are just aging systems that broke, or this is some kind of like deliberate attempt to get around expensive upgrades?
Again, I can't determine that. I'm not an engineer. That's not even my position, my job. My job is to say, we hired an engineer. This cost a good amount of money. They're indicating that these pipes exist now, and it's right where the high levels are. When they were put in, it's sort of hard, I can't tell. I've never seen any indication as to what the guess is.
But regardless of when they were put in, if they're polluting and contaminating the water now, they have to be fixed.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter when they were put in, but it does really matter that they need to be corrected.
I'm asking if you think
There's-
this is
I'll
a
tell you something,
deliberate
Carolyn.
attempt to bypass.
Carolyn, I'm
expensive
gonna
work.
have Bruce Kennedy
All right,
talk about
thank you.
something. Carolyn, this is what you're asking.
Thank you.
So that's a very good question. Some of these pipes are old concrete pipes that could have been there for the past 80 years. But there are two in particular that are PVC pipes, which is a modern type of pipe. And you can actually see on the pictures that the labels, the stamped labels on these pipes are still perfectly readable. So it appears to myself as a layman that these were installed fairly recently.
You can show the picture.
Yeah, and this is
We have
one
a
of
picture.
this
Which
is one of,
suggests what, Bruce?
which suggests that somebody decided to directly discharge septic
Allegedly.
into the water,
Allegedly.
allegedly. It appears.
It appears, allegedly. Again,
So it appears that these pipes were installed intentionally with the purpose of dealing with overflow from existing cesspools that were failing and overflowing.
So
See-
homeowners were bypassing the rules.
well, you know what, again, Carolyn, that's not our job as legislators and mayors and councilmen. Our job is to make sure those proper steps are taken, which is notifying the DEC, which is making sure, honestly, the Board of Health was supposed to be getting back to me as to what steps they were taking. And they did mention a few that might be quite investigative. So the bottom line is, that's not our place, although we're very interested in it. We can surmise as to what we think might be going on, and I think that you know that we are, but it does, I'm almost looking forward at this point. Let's get these pipes taken care of. They should be redirected. Again, we're talking about $20,000 expense. For all four, it'd be $80,000, which sounds like a lot, but it's not compared to what we were about to spend. So I am very happy that we found a solution, hopefully, to this problem. I'm hopeful that it'll be done quickly, as Councilman Tenke said. But my concern was that, as a legislator, I don't feel that I was kept in the loop. I don't think I was notified as much as I would like to have been. I'm hopeful going forward that both the Department of Public Works and the Board of Health will be more communicative and be on top of everything that they have to be. That's their job. That's their responsibility.
And as it relates to that question, that's why I stated that I think that we all are looking for an investigation. An investigation into how these pipes came to be, who's responsible for it, who knew about them, and when. We want this ended immediately. We want these things capped. We want the discharge to discontinue today. And we want to know who knew what and when, and the appropriate steps be taken.
I just also want to mention, because my attorney just reminded me, and you're more than welcome to look at, as Councilman Tenke said, this is the first time we have real pictures of these pipes. I mean, it's the first evidence we have. And this report is quite conclusive. However, it is labeled a draft. So it's a technical form in my opinion. Like, I don't know how much the information can change from the pictures and all, but just to be clear, the report's labeled a draft.
I have a question. What exactly is a tangible solution? You said cap or redirect the pipes. What are you going to do with them?
Again, I'm not an engineer, but I was told by the Department of Public Works that this happens, where they find a pipe, and basically what they do is there's a system that will rework the water so that it's treated. Right now, this water's not being treated at all. It's going right in. So, it's something, there is a solution, and they were told me that it was approximately $20,000. Actually, if it was a regular home, it would probably be about $7,500, but because these are larger homes, it would be up to $20,000.
All right, I think we're good. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.